Hello everyone, it's Dylan from Yugioh Everything, and welcome back to another Yugioh 7s video. So, we got the news that we were anticipating, that we were hoping we would get in this month's V-Jump in terms of more news about the show, more news about the story, and I gotta be honest, it's actually pretty cool. I'm really looking forward to this show more and more as we go on through time and as we get closer to the start of the show, mainly because it's been 6 months now. I just really want to watch another Yu-Gi-Oh anime, and new studio, new writers, fresh blood into the franchise. I'm remaining optimistic that it's going to really be a fun and enjoyable story for all of us to experience together. We did not get who is doing the openings and endings. I was anticipating that would be the big thing we would be getting. We did not get that, but we did get more about Goha Corporation, about the overall theme and atmosphere of this show, which is actually a little more intense and political than I really expected it to be. And I'm happy about that because it means it's just going to be taking place in a more, I don't want to use the word mature. I feel like that's kind of an overdrawn word, but it's not going to be, you know, a child-friendly setting, at least seemingly based off of this information. So let's just get right to it. I will link this article down below, and again, it's just more plot details for Yugioh 7s. Big thanks to our friends over at Yugioh Organization for translating. You don't just duel Goha Corporation style, you live Goha Corporation style. That is the tagline, and that is a beautiful way to sum up this new batch of information. The Goha city that Yuga and his pals live in is the mega corporation Goha Corp runs the metropolis called Goha City. Goha Corp doesn't just control dueling, they also have a major say in the daily necessities of its city's citizens, such as food, clothing, and even shelter. So that is, I mean, really take the time to think about that. And before I get into what that means and the kind of environment that I think this show is going to be taking place in, even look at the image of that massive structure with the massive, overwhelming, and over-the-top Goha symbol just looming over the skyscraper, the biggest skyscraper probably in the city. And this very well could be a city where no matter where you are, where no matter what building you're in, what restaurant you're in, what school you're in, when you go outside and look around, you can see the Goha Corporation symbol looming over everything. And it just simply represents the way that this government, that this corporation, that this company runs the entire city and is always looking over your shoulder and in a way looking down on you as you just try and live your life, because they have, at the end of the day, control over everything. So not only do they control Goha City, remember, this is a corporation, by the way. This is not a government. Now, there might not be a government in this city, and maybe Goha Corp acts as a mega corporation and a government, or maybe it's kind of similar to what happened in 5Ds, where Rex Godwin and Iliaster had their hands in all their government officials, and essentially Rex Godwin was kind of running the whole scenes of Neo Domino City from the back end. That could be it. Maybe all the government officials are in the pockets of Goha Corporation. And of course, we know who the president and CEO of Goha Corporation is. I did an entire video on that yesterday. I'll link that down below as well in case you missed it. But all you need to know is it is a very intimidating and creepy looking guy, and clearly based on what Goha Corporation is putting the city through, they need an intimidating, strong-looking figurehead, and they've got it with this guy. So that is really, really cool. Now, this might actually be the most control that any corporation has ever had in any of the Yu-Gi-Oh shows. Going back to Yu-Gi-Oh! Vrains, Soul Technologies didn't really have much of a say over what was going on in Den City. They, of course, had their area of Link Vrains that they controlled, but Soltech didn't control Den City or didn't restrict you to eat at certain times or eat certain foods or wear certain clothing or what area of the city you're going to live in. I mean, there are so many cool angles they could go. If this company has enemies, if people in this corporation have enemies, they can put them in the really, really crappy parts of town and the really crappy parts of city because they have a major say in the shelter of city citizens. They might ration off food where if you're loyal to your government, if you're loyal to this corporation, if you're loyal to Goha City, we'll give you 3 rations of food every day. That'll keep you nice and satisfied. If you're not, if you speak out, if you have a criminal record, if you go against Goha City in any sort of way, you're going to get one ration of food every single day for your entire family. Have fun making that last. So this is going to be a really, really interesting setup for Yugioh 7s. And when we first got the characters of Yugioh 7s, we all thought more lighthearted, and it definitely could be. But then you get information like this, and this is, again, the most strict control we have ever had a corporation have over a city. Yu-Gi-Oh! 5D's shelter was a big thing because you had the commons in the crappy area, the satellite of Yu-Gi-Oh! 5D's, and then you had the tops, which was the upper class citizens. They were able to live in the beautiful city, the beautiful area of Yu-Gi-Oh! 5D's, of Neo Domino City. That was pretty intense, what the Yu-Gi-Oh! 5D's government basically did there. But this has the potential to be the most strict and insane control that we have ever seen any company have in a Yu-Gi-Oh! And they could go down some really dark roads. Honestly, if they show off any of that, if they show off purposely giving certain citizens poor homes to live in, or not enough food, or even splitting families apart, that's going to be really, really messed up. And I think the most messed up part of it is that that is, in a way, reality. And it reminds me a little bit of, I wasn't going to say this country, but I'll just say it. It reminds me a little bit of what we know of North Korea. Maybe it's not going to be to that extreme. I mean, hopefully it's not going to be to that extreme. But that's just what it reminds me of. Choosing who gets to eat, forcing people to wear certain clothes, forcing people into certain areas of the city and where they can live. I mean, this is pretty insane for a show that I did not think was going to be that intense and maybe as mature as we've seen in the past based on the early character designs. It also gives Yuga such a get out of jail free card, because there were so many people complaining about Yuga and how, oh, you know, he's just some spoiled kid who wants to make up his own rules because he's not good enough, or he thinks that the regular game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Is so boring, that's so dumb. But Yuga's doing it because look at the city that he's living in. If you're living in a city like this under a corporation that forces you to do everything a certain way, you're going to want to do anything you can to break out of that mold, to break out of that rut that you're in every single day for 365 days a year. So now Yuga wanting to create Rush Duels, it's not really from the perspective of, oh yeah, he's just some spoiled kid who doesn't want to play the real game and is creating his own BS rules. No, he wants to do it because he wants to break out of this horrible, boring, awful life that Goha Corporation controls every aspect of. So I think it gives him genuine and relatable motivation there, and kind of respect as to why he wants to create this new style of dueling. This is an aspect of life that Yuga believes he can successfully change. And speaking of Yuga, I get major Yu-Gi-Oh! Vrains vibes from these next two things. Let's take a look at Yuga's room/apartment. It's called the Road Laboratory. Doesn't this look a little bit like Yusaku Fujiki's apartment? The size of it, it looks a little bit run down. Maybe it's just the quality of the image, but it reminds me a lot of Yusaku's apartment. This is Yuga's research room, also known as the Road Laboratory. Let's take a look inside. In here, Yuga develops all of his various inventions that he calls roads. And here's a bit of an invention that he's working on, something we actually did see in the trailer. Road Laboratory has been discovered. Let's reveal Yuga's roads. We've discovered a mysterious blueprint hidden in the lab. It appears to be a drone, but it's full of expressions. Its true identity is actually Robopi. No, I'm kidding. But doesn't this, with the whole laboratory and lab, remind you so much of Yusaku creating Robopi in Yu-Gi-Oh! Vrains? It just reminds me so much of it. And then, of course, the blueprints, and I'm going to show you in the trailer where this blueprinted creature, whatever it is, I guess it's going to be artificial intelligence, probably going to be the thing that follows Yuga around, maybe to the degree like I did with Yusaku, maybe to the degree like Astral did with Yuma. Of course, Astral wasn't Yuma's creations, but you guys get what I'm saying. So clearly, Yuga is going to be a very smart and intelligent kid. It makes me think he's probably actually going to be pretty good at the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! If he has his own laboratory, if he's creating his own inventions, and the kid is 12 freaking years old. It really makes me believe that he's probably going to be a very talented and skilled duelist. But once this very tyrannical dictatorship government finds out that he's doing this stuff and is going against the means of living in Goha City, he's going to have the entire Goha Corporation after him, and that's going to be really interesting. I've just been dying now for a major corporation to actually get the storylines and the focus that it deserves. Soul Technologies was such a letdown in the grand scheme of things in Yu-Gi-Oh! Reigns, and it really seems early on in this show that Goha Corporation is going to hopefully live up to the billing and be a really, really awful, horrible company that makes this world to live in, especially the city, such a horrible place, and it will really be up to Yuga and his friends to kind of break through that mundane, boring life. But it's not going to be easy when you have these grown-ass men and women coming at you from the government and they control every single thing in this city. It's going to be very difficult to go against it. So it could get pretty intense for our very young cast of characters, because if they're going to base this off of real life, governments and major corporations like this, they don't really care how old you are. Whether you're 27 or whether you're 14, if you're doing something that they don't like, they're going to go after you in a very harsh way. And that could make the setting of Yugioh 7s just as mature as previous shows. And the more and more we get from this show, the more information and tidbits we get, the more excited I am and the more optimistic I become that this show, when it's all said and done, is going to be a very good show from a story perspective. Changing the design styles of the characters is something that I'm never going to be like, yeah, I'm so happy they did it. It's just kind of, I'm indifferent on it, a little bit disappointed, but if the story kicks ass and really comes together beautifully, that is what matters way more than changing the character design. So yeah, that really is going to conclude things on my end. I really hope you enjoyed, and I really hope you give me all your thoughts on Yugioh 7s. And again, if you want to know more about the president and CEO of Goha Corporation, definitely check out that video. I will have it linked down below. Super duper excited to talk to all of you in the comment section down below. Thank you all so much for watching, and a special thank you to my Platinum tier patrons Alexa Baker, Glen McGookin, Jorge Carrillo, Horace Maye, Goosey Q, Vincent Van Der Veen, Panther J, Smith 620, Jorge Leon, Blue Maiden 28, Jarrett Buller, and Gabe G, and to my Diamond tier patrons Jesse Wood, Latrell Smith, Sean, and Melinda Phantom, and to my Egyptian God tier patron Syn Cloud. Thank you all so much for supporting me on Patreon, and thank you to everyone who is a channel member and just watches my videos. Without you guys, I would not be able to do this. I will talk to you all down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have an amazing day.